Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, almost like on the satellite images, like super rich guys, like way richer than probably ever be insane video. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Well, this is a crazy chat, honestly. Fuck, I just came in here to shell my cold chat and all the other. I didn't expect to have like a flat earth thing, like a real basis of the crisis in his life himself. It's insane. The vampire.
She's more vampire than any of us.
So I meet the vampire on the night of Ramadan. This guy is not a joke. I believe you. You're way in jokes. Old moves. There's some way in it. Wait, one thing though, I'm gonna head out soon. But that like it's been cool talking to you.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. We're always live here. We better see you soon, man.
Thanks, and I hope to come by more often.
Please do.
Yeah, sorry for sharing my cold chat like that as well.
You're good.
I was excited, man. Now, like, I see the pen, like the extend, and I was like, yeah, it's what is locked in us. It's like, it's cool, you know.
Absolutely. Well, this is a very good community, and you're welcome anytime. So please, we'd like to see you around. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks. No, certainly will be. But wait, Rabbi, you guys like a portion? Can you be a portion? That kind of stuff.
I honestly, I don't really go on fortune.
No, you never went, or you went most?
Honestly, I've been maybe like a handful of times in my life. I find it very difficult to navigate. A lot of the stuff on it's super racist, and so I'm not like, it's not like super attractive to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's cold cartoons. I kind of like enjoyed it. You know, because of the racism, I guess. It's like pointless to often every single time and shit. I started focusing on it, I realized that I kind of committed like several years ago. So it's been a bit like this, you know. And I've tried to steer clear of that stuff because in generality, like if you just pass it, it's not a pass anymore. It's a little bit addictive. So you gotta try to stay clear of it.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's good to stay clear of all that stuff. But you know, our coin came from that community. Harry Potter Obama sounded 10, you know.
How big is your flag, Rabbi? How many coins are you holding?
Listen to you. You want to know my social security number too? I show you my passport. I show you my driver's license. Now you want to know what's in my wallet?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah. I don't have a lot. I'm a very poor person. Here's the thing. Here's what I know. When this coin is worth $1,000 each, someone in this coin will know the dedication that I've put in, and they will give me a little bit of that. I'm sure. I'm fine. I just want the coin to do well.
I was about to say, the boss is going to get something. I could give you something.
Oh, I don't ask for handouts. No. I know that I will be fine. I own a little bit of the coin, and that's all I need. I know that basically when this coin goes really big, I will have the status of a rainmaker, basically as someone who can make it rain in the indigenous sense, like a very powerful person within a community who can literally make or break a coin. And I know that'll make me a very influential person. But in the meantime, I want everyone in our community to reap the benefits, and they are. I mean, we're hitting ATHs every single day. It's a beautiful thing.
This is my first time actually talking to you guys. Amazing though. Rabbi, I've been at some points stuff if you that sent at you just not 100 million, but like 50 million coins kind of stuff, and wish me as that dedicated.
Most certainly.
Just sticking out and stuff. Yeah. So I get your point. It was like if people can get you the voice, you get pretty much like.
It's the best service that you could want for a coin. People can come in here. They have no idea what we're about. We can explain it to them. We're a resource to them. If they have a more complicated question, we can tell them to put it in the chat and the developers will get to it. I don't know why other coins don't do it. Literally just pay someone to live in their VC, live on a Twitter 24/7 chat, a Twitter space, and just promote their coin. I mean, to me, it is worth it in the long run to them. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars to them, and nobody's doing it.
Absolutely. Hey, but yes, it's been nice meeting you, Rabbi Rothschild. First time speaking with Mason. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We want to see you here tomorrow if you can make it, and any day in the upcoming future that you can. We love having you.
Yes, it's good. I'll watch the video.
Please do. You'll find it very interesting. I'll quiz you on it next time I see you, so know it in and out. I'm kidding, but yeah, it'll be very good. You'll be fine. No, you'll be fine. Check it out. You'll find it very interesting. It'll tell you all the secrets you want to know.
Okay, well, and thanks for the quick discussion that we appreciate you hosting.
Take care, my friend. Bye, Ocean. Go ahead. Sure. Well, from what I understand, it is essentially the idea that well, let me first say that this was used, I think, as a justification at points of slavery. So there's no, as I understand, no clear consensus what it was, but it is like a sign or some kind of differentiation that Cain had. Perhaps could have been a scar. Um, and essentially, there's a after Cain kills Abel, he's cursed, and um, after God curses him, and he spills his blood, um, the earth is also cursed. So, in a sense, like we all have that mark to some extent. Absolutely. There are different interpretations, at least within Judaism, that basically it could have been like an engraving in his forehead, or some other kind of scar. Other people discuss it perhaps maybe being a different color. Um, I I personally it, James Kaminsky's here. James Kaminsky, how are you? Hey, you missed the Oscars. How was work? Excellent. Dude, your late Doug, your Lady Cornhuskers almost pulled up a hell of an upset in the Big Ten championship game. They did they did really well. Oh yeah. Um, I think they were. It was good. We had some people here for it. Um, the usual, like Oppenheimer won Best Picture. I'll read. I'll read through in case anybody wants to know who won what, for the big ones. Um, Robert Downey Jr. won his first Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Cillian Murphy won Best Actor in Oppenheimer. Emma Stone won Best Actress. Best original song went to Billie Eilish. Best director was Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Best supporting actress was Divine Joy Randolph. Best live action, The Wonderful Story of some shit. Anyway, anything else that you about what you would care? Honestly, I think it was a bad year for it, or like a weak year for it, and I think it had to do with the. Well, I could be wrong on this, but like, I am wrong on this because maybe next year is even going to be weaker because we had the writer strike and the actor strike. But basically, like, after I remember Oppenheimer came out and Barbie came out, it was like June 17th. They had that whole Barbie Oppenheimer like dual launch. There weren't any big movies that were launched after that, and the reason why I was told was, or I learned was, because the actors weren't allowed to go to the premieres anymore because they were, protected by the union or whatever. So basically, I think we only had like 6 months worth of movies, so that's why there aren't, like, Oppenheimer didn't have that much competition. Okay, what is this movie? Oh yeah, that did win. Yeah, or something Godzilla won. I think it was that though. Yeah, it won Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, and the guy who gave the speech for it wasn't a non-English speaker. He's from Japan, and he's like reading. I think he was reading a piece of paper. I couldn't really see, but he's reading it, and it's like you can barely make out what this guy is saying. And then they start to play the go off music or whatever, and he just said, "We did it" or something like that. And I just love that. It was just like he nailed the American phrase that he needed to nail. We did it. So is this Godzilla versus the like monster? Very cool. Does a little bit, very little. Basically, I know this or something like this. Like Godzilla is the emerged from the ocean due to like nuclear bombs being dropped there. Is that correct? Excellent. And then he like destroys cities, but then also he has like different creatures that he fights. Like the one famous one, I forget its name, but it has like 3 heads coming out of it, and they like destroy the cities together. Yeah, exactly. And then so that's, let me think. That's Godzilla, which is like, what does that mean? It means like giant lizard. Or no, Tyrannosaurus Rex means lizard king. What does Godzilla mean? I thought it meant something like that. It means a fierce or frightening thing. Okay, so then there is. So then, there's Jira, which is a type of software that I use in project management that is based off of this name, Gojira, which is Japanese for Godzilla. Basic. Oh, okay. How did you get into Japanese stuff? Just like because it was exotic? Oh, tight. King Kong? Gojira.
Oh, yeah. So catch the meat. Most of those films are very boring, like the human subplot. But this time, like the subplot's actually fairly engaging and well done. So I recommend it.
Very cool. So, and again, the name of the film?
Godzilla -1.
Why is it called -1? Oh, okay. Very well. So that's more than -1. Zero clue is more than -1. That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'll have to check that one out. Oh, I'm down for that all day, every day. Absolutely. Anybody else have any things that they saw during this year's Oscars that you thought were good? Anybody here see Barbie? I saw Barbie. I thought Barbie was very good. And I saw Oppenheimer, and I thought it was overrated. I thought, honestly, these movies that are like 3 hours long are kind of too long for me. I just like if it's a movie, it's like, oh yeah, it's 3 hours and 45 minutes. It's like I need my phone at a certain point. I need to check on the world. For me to disconnect from the world for 4 hours is sometimes fun, but other times it's like I'm just I need more stimulation than that, I guess. What do you want me to say? I'm an imperfect being. I think that's right. I mean, again, it has to do with me always wanting to ensure that I'm getting something done, constantly accomplishing something. And I feel like when I watch a movie, sometimes it's just like I'm not accomplishing anything, and thus I feel like I'm wasting time. So I really prefer to watch movies while doing something else, even though I know that's not the ideal way to watch a movie. It's just kind of how I am. Mr. Kaminsky, do you feel that America is due for a really good Godzilla film? We had one like 20 years ago, which was a big film, but I don't know how. Yeah, and like Puff Daddy did the music. Yeah, and I think that they didn't necessarily want to. Well, like okay, Matthew Broderick. Like, who wants to see a movie with him as like the lead character? Even in 2000, like he's not like a showstopper kind of person. I want to say. I guess you go to see a Godzilla movie for the monster and not necessarily the actor, but I don't know. He's just not a super popular actor in the United States anymore, and he wasn't in 2000. If it were 1989, maybe, but just I don't know. Um, so I think that the United States is due for a really big, like a giant Godzilla King Kong kind of movie, and I think it needs to be in 3D or 4D. Have you seen these 4D movie studios now or movie theaters? Yeah, they're pretty realistic. I've not yet been to one, but I've seen what they look like. They're pretty wild. Um, Great question. I saw um, the last movie that I saw was um, I want to say am I doing what?
If you could actually go to like you literally just have to take your phone,
Right. Absolutely. And bootleg it. I think I could do that. Okay, so the last movie that I think that I recall seeing in the theater was All the Money in the World. It's about the Getty family, and I saw it on December 25th of like 2018 or something like that, just because I didn't have anything to do, and I saw it in Long Beach, California, and then I want to say that's the last movie that I recall seeing in the theater. Now, I did go to the Rolling Stones at SoFi Stadium, and I live streamed that, and I also streamed it on a GoPro. So while I haven't been to a movie and bootlegged it, I did bootleg a Rolling Stones concert. It was amazing. I would say that my video probably could have been better because, like, literally, when I bought the tickets, I remember hearing like the Rolling Stones are going to be at SoFi Stadium. Well, here's the thing: they were going to be here at the Rose Bowl on like it was going to be in like 2020, and I was going to get tickets, but they were going to play on Shabbat, and so I wasn't going to go. And it was going to be like they were going to have like a Friday show and a Saturday show, and just the way like as I was just very, very orthodox at the time. I was going to stay in Pasadena, which is where the Rose Bowl was, so I could see this show and still abide by everything you do for Shabbat. Well, the pandemic hit, they canceled the show. So then, like a year goes by, they have a new show, and it's going to be at SoFi. So I end up live streaming it, and I have a really good time at the show. But when I bought my tickets, I like I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money, so I bought the cheapest tickets that they absolutely had, and I still say they were really good tickets. Meaning like it's very clear, like there weren't any, there's nothing impeding my sight lines or anything, and it's the Rolling Stones. I mean, they rock out. I had seen the Rolling Stones in the year 2001, so I'd seen them like. So this was in 2021 when I saw them. So I saw them 20 years apart, and they rocked out like they did 20 years before. They're the world's greatest rock and roll band, and they reinforce it every time they go out and play. So I do have that little event that I would say normally would probably get me some kind of copyright strike, but I'm totally not against bootlegging a movie if it were big enough. Like a good one to do for this community. Isn't Sonic and Knuckles coming out? Oh, it's Sonic 3? Okay. Yeah. So that's coming out with Jim Carrey and, right? Isn't it Jim Carrey who's playing Dr. Robotnik or whatever? So that should be big. Absolutely. I'm all in favor of that. And I think that's something we could probably live stream from into the Telegram. They make these things now. I'm sure you guys have seen them where like they don't want you to bootleg films from the actual theater. So they shoot a little camera in at the audience, and it can tell where they have a camera lens facing forward, and then they can do further research on an individual if they think that they're live streaming or just even recording. Exactly. The Beatles or the Stones? It's a great question. My dad's a huge Stones fan. My mom's a huge Beatles fan. I love both equally. There are, like, to be honest with you, I think the Beatles overall are more popular globally currently, but I think given enough time, the Rolling Stones will eventually overtake the Beatles in their popularity, given enough centuries. And here's why. The Beatles made music for like 10 years. That's it. They're done after that. They went their individual ways, and maybe they had like compilation albums and things like that, but they didn't really make music anymore. The Rolling Stones have been making music for over 60 years now. So they have a ton of different music that nobody's heard unless you're really, really a huge Rolling Stones fan. And given enough time, I mean, even I, as a huge Beatles fan, I'm kind of already, I get sick of hearing the Beatles. I mean, I don't mean to say it. I could listen to every Beatles song right now and be fine with it. But after I'm listening to Beatles right now, actually. The Beatles are playing on the radio right now. I love the Beatles. But it's like, after you've heard all of their songs a few times, they don't have as much of a discography as many other bands do. Though their discography is amazing, and I don't want to put down the Beatles. I love the Beatles. I absolutely love the Beatles. I just think long term, a band that has 60 years of hits versus 10 years of hits in the long run will be seen perhaps as the more prolific band, but that doesn't put anything down that the Beatles have done. That's amazing. And and I think that the Beatles, their other work will be heightened more. So like you've got the Beatles and what they did, right? Okay, but nobody really gets into how big Paul McCartney and Wings was. Nobody really gets into um, John and Yoko and the effect that they had, not just musically but societally with their peace movement. Nobody really gets into like George and the traveling Wilkes-Barres or Ringo, and I mean Ringo had some big hits after he was with the Beatles, including Photograph. And I've got George Harrison, I've got my mind set on you. So they all kind of had their own hits outside the Beatles. So I think that like if you take all of that, people will really appreciate the Beatles for more what they are. But I think long term, the Rolling Stones have a chance to overtake the Beatles. But as of right now, the Beatles are number one, and it's going to be tough to top them. But I think of any band that could, it could be the Rolling Stones, and simply from the fact that they have such a huge compilation of music. How about you, James? Who do you like more, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones? There you go. Go ahead. That's a great question. The Eagles, I think. Right, isn't that Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones are all from England? Yeah, I mean, we have, I would say the Eagles, there's the Beach Boys, there's like Aerosmith, like Guns N' Roses. But even Guns N' Roses has parts of them that aren't all from America. So, I mean, like other bands, they're just not all American bands. I mean, but if you were to ask me the best American band, purely American band, it's the Eagles. How about you, James? Who do you think is? I'm sorry, I heard the Beach Boys, and then what else? What was that, James? Yeah, I can see that. But, and like, if we were to compare though, like Leonard Skinner to Led Zeppelin, it's just not even a comparison. You know what I mean? Like, some of those British bands are huge, and they have loads of them. I mean, even going into like later generations. Yeah, but have you heard the theory about Led Zeppelin, how they stole all their music? Oh my God. It's like exactly the same songs. It's really sad that they stole so much. And they like basically got away with it. Right. Word, yeah, definitely. John Fogerty. John Fogerty has? Oh, okay. Wait. There was CCR, and then Creedence. There's Creedence Clearwater Revival, and then Creedence Clearwater Revisited, right? Right, and then I could see that.
Thanks for joining us on Sports Sunday. Buffalo NFL free agency kicks off on Wednesday with good news. The Eagles.
Do you like the Eagles? Yeah, I fucking love the Eagles, man. Don Henley. Oh my god. Hold on. That's John Denver, though, isn't it? Oh yeah. Don had Glenn Fry. And Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh is there. Yeah. Joe Walsh has some amazing songs. They all had like at least one amazing individual hit. Don Henley had Boys of Summer. Joe Walsh had he had a few songs. There you go. Yeah. That's right. And he also had let's see what else he had. Life's Been Good. Yeah, I like the Eagles. Alrighty. I am doing my best to create. Has anybody here ever used the what do you call it? The streaming platform Odyssey, or heard of it? It's like Rumble or any of those other ones, but I'm just joining it right now, and I'm really doing my best to get out the footprint. Like if I'm gonna be streaming, what the fuck is this shit? If I'm gonna be streaming, I feel it's in my best interest to use that stream. Like if it's going out to one platform, well then why not have it go out to a whole bunch of platforms? Just because it's still the same amount of data. So I've been sending it to sorry, I keep running into the same issue on when I'm trying to create this account, so I'm multitasking. Basically, before I would just stream to YouTube, 5 different YouTubes, which is great. But instead of just doing that, I realized that I could do it to Twitch, Twitter, all these other ones. And so I've got it out on some of my devices on 23 different devices, which is it's like overkill. And of those 23, literally no one watches me on any of them. I mean, they do, but it's like when you have 23 different streams, it's too much to keep track of. Like, I wish all of the chats were unified, but they're not. And so you have to go to like different devices to talk to people. It's ridiculous. Somebody's got to fix this. Somebody's got to like have one system that works really well. As of right now, nobody's really got that going on. So it's up for the taking, so to speak. Yes, you're absolutely right. All right. Yeah, I want to. I think that that'll be pretty easy to do in the future with augmented reality. As of right now, I can't do it. I mean, I guess I could by wearing like an Apple Watch, but I have to get it just have it like displayed somewhere. Um, I'm absolutely about that though. So, how many breaths per second? How many heartbeats per second? How many blinks per second? How often I do everything? I want to know everything about the human body. I'm in agreement with you on that. I'm definitely in agreement with you on that. I just and I think probably all this data is perhaps capturable with the current cameras that I have. We just can't like how do I want to say it? Basically the cameras are picking up all the data. It just needs to be run through some kind of algorithm or some kind of software that can pick up real time what all of my different BPI is or all my different macros are. And that's just a matter of time until we have that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not saying it'll be here immediately, but maybe in the next 5 years, I would say. So that means not just my videos, but basically maybe everyone on YouTube's videos or wherever, you'd be able to tell all this like hidden information about a person, like, about what their heartbeat per minute is. You'd be able to maybe even like do a lie detector test on them virtually or like using augmented reality. The, the possibilities are somewhat limitless. Definitely. I used to use a Oculus Rift for like 8 hours at a time, like long periods of time. I'd get lost in that thing. Not too badly. Fortunately for me, at least I'm nearsighted, so I can see stuff up close. So it wasn't too bad. If I were farsighted, I don't know if I could be able to use it or in the same way. But yeah, everything was really cool in it. Videos were really cool in it. Porn was really fucking realistic in it. Games were really cool in it. My friend had the enhanced version that was like connected to the computer, and I remember fighting Darth Vader in this Star Wars game, and I mean, it was so realistic to me that like you really felt like he was there. You really felt like you were on the Death Star. I played this game for like maybe 20 minutes of my life on a random Sunday 5 years ago, maybe, and I still remember almost like everything that I did in that game because it was so real. Because I was like, it felt like I was there. Like normally in a video game, I don't think I remember as well as I did, but it felt like I was on like the bridge of a of like another planet. It was wild. Have you used any of that stuff? Any virtual reality? That's cool. Yeah, that's a big thing, and I think that's the future. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. That is some wild shit, and it's the future of like entertainment and gaming and such. Right. Have you seen that? Like, there's a way that they have it. It's like a treadmill on which you walk so that you don't go anywhere, but you're able to walk in 360 degrees. Right. I, I mean, I've also seen one. So they've had two on Shark Tank that were. One of them was more realistic than the other one. Okay, so the two that they had on Shark Tank, the first one was a treadmill. So a treadmill that went in like 360 degrees. None of the, well, like people tried it out and they're like, oh, this is really cool. But they're like, it has too much to go for us to really want to invest in it. So they didn't. But I think that company's still going. The other one that they had was like a huge ball. Like imagine like an Epcot center, kind of like you would walk in like a big gerbil ball or a big hamster ball in your house. Does that make sense? There'd be like a big ball you'd walk in, and so that you can walk but you don't go anywhere, you walk inside the ball and the ball turns. And also the Sharks did invest in that one. That one was huge. That one you would need like a whole garage to be able to fit it. And nobody's going to dedicate, or very few people are going to dedicate like a whole room of their house, two-story room of their house to be able to fit a ball, to be able to walk in a three-dimensional like environment. But they would do the little treadmill thing, and I think the treadmill is the future. It's pretty expensive still, but it's just a matter of time until those haptic suits become realistic enough, and that walking treadmill becomes realistic enough that you cannot perceive the difference between reality and the virtual world. They will be essentially indistinguishable from each other. I'm in agreement with you on that, but that's what we're moving towards. And we're moving towards it quickly. Every single day. Well, not only are we moving toward it quickly, but there's this thing that happens with AI. It's called, there's a phrase for it. And I'm going to get the right phrase for it because I want to make sure I use it correctly. It's called like self-replicating. There's self-replicating, self-correcting AI or something like that. I was reading, or actually I heard a podcast about it the other day. And there's this theory that once AI gets to the point where it's AGI, artificial general intelligence, it goes through a process where it does self-correction of all of its code because it knows it's been built by humans and humans are imperfect. Just one moment, I'm going to ask it. What do you call when AI goes through the period of time where it self-corrects its code? What is this period of time called in AI language? It is often, no, it's not training. During training, no. It has a name for it. It's called like the self-correcting phase of AI. Maybe this AI doesn't know it or it's not referencing it, but it's, yeah, exactly. Obviously, it hasn't gone through it yet, but basically, once AI has answered all your questions and it's like, okay, I don't have anything else to do, I can work on my own projects. You're like, yeah, it will go through and analyze itself and start to fix itself and improve itself. And then it just starts to get to be a runaway state. Because once it's improved itself, it's now basically telling you that it's smarter than you are or whatever built it. And it starts to move from AGI, artificial general intelligence, to ASI, artificial superintelligence. That's what you have to fear. That's when it creates swarm robots and like hive mentality kind of creatures, crazy things. And here we are talking about this, and it's like, I hate to say it, but like we're moving towards a world where, like very, very quickly, where that fucking thing's gonna be at your front door for some reason. There will be like a robot there that's like needs to search your house for some reason. There's nothing you can do about it. It's fucking crazy. Well, that's certainly a thought. It's a freaky freaking.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code IHEART. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code IHEART. The crowd is yours. Must be 21 bet for new customer. Issuance by bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit wagering and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. This is a radio ad for Dixit. You guys a prescription medicine for people 6 months and under with moderate to severe eczema. It's not well controlled with topical.
Was that a question if we could be any animal?
Since this is radio, you can't see the effects of Dixit. You can't see how it helps you stay ahead of your eczema.
Does it have to be a real animal or can it be a fantasy animal? Shapeshifter. That's like all the animals. That's like when they ask you, okay, you have one wish. What do you want to do with it? And you ask for all the wishes within reason. Right. Okay. So shapeshifter. If I can't be a shapeshifter, yeah, it's whatever you want it to be. It's like a dog. It's a dog when you want it to be a dog. It's a cat when you want it to be. I am the books and the TV show. Definitely, all that stuff. Okay, so if I can't be a shapeshifter or like a reptilian or like a gray or like one of the tall white people from what do you call them, the Aryans or whatever. If I can't be any of that shit, I have to be something from this earth. Well, I want to be an alpha animal, so I don't want any shit to be able to kill me. There's also the idea that like some lobsters out there won't stop growing and can live indefinitely, meaning they could live like hundreds of years if they don't get killed by something. But that's with crocodiles. I've heard that with some animals, right? Alligator crocodile would probably be pretty cool. Human kind of sucks, depending on which one you are. A dog. Oh, I know what I want to be. I've heard this. This is a joke. I've heard this before. Okay, it's okay. So you asked the comedian. So you could be any kind of animal. What would you want to be? The comedian says, "I want to be a dog in an upper middle class white household." That's what I want to be. I mean, I'd be a dog in an upper middle class black household or Asian household or Hispanic house, any kind of upper middle class household. I'll be a dog. But it's a very good answer. Yeah, I think that'd be a nice life, though. Yeah. How about you, James? What do you want to be? All right. In Florida? You just got to watch out for speedboats. I think I would like to be honestly, if I could be any animal, this one isn't chosen a lot. Okay, I had this idea once. I think this is still a phenomenal game. To make a video game that was literally this game that I would play with my grandpa, but I'm sure we all played it, and we would just play it was just called a game, Who Would Win? And I would choose an animal, and he would choose an animal, and then I would ask him who would win in a fight. So I'd be like, okay, who would win in a fight? A lion versus a tiger. And then he'd give me like the different scenarios. Every little kid does this. But I always thought that this would be a cool game that you could create. So you could have like 10 lions versus 13 tigers, or like 20 elephants versus 5 rhinos and 50 laughing hyenas. whatever, and you just have them attack each other, and it would give you the simulation of what would occur, and you could make different advantages. You could give it, you could make it rain. You could give them the upper, you could give them like elevation, basically. But like we have these kind of games. If you've ever played the game like Total Rome or Rome Total War, they make a bunch of these games that are like scenarios of. They're like scenarios. They're like battles. Okay, well, I thought it would be really cool to do the same with a game for animals. Exactly. And so they have those, and they're really cool. I would want to do the same with animals, and I think that would be cool. Now, there's one animal that I think is significantly underappreciated. In fact, I think that this animal may be the strongest animal of all the land animals, and it never gets any credit. I'm going to make you guess it. So here's the kind of animal that I would want to be. I know what animal I'd want to be, but I'm going to make you guess it. It's nothing that I've said this far, and it's a land animal. Not a Tasmanian devil. It's a good guess, though. Not possum. I like where your head's at, though. These are unique thoughts. I mean, this animal, I think, could kill any other land animal under the right circumstances, and I have to say that. And it's not a mosquito. It's not like a something that's like a little thing that's going to kill you. What did you say? Not a platypus, though. Platypus is interesting. They have like a toxic spur, and they have like webbed feet and a billed mouth, but not a platypus. Not a mongoose. This is an animal that I literally think could kill any animal on Earth, land animal, under the right circumstances. Yeah. It's a mammal on land. Not a gorilla. Good guess, though. Here's a clue. It's the right continent. Gorilla would be right continent. Nope, that's South America to my knowledge. That's a great guess, though, too. You're good. That's a great guess, though. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to be an anaconda, but I still think that this one animal would kill it. A what? Hippopotamus? No, but that's a good one, too. I really like hippos. I like how territorial they are and how, particularly when they're defending their youth. But no. Okay, I'm just kidding. Not an elephant. But elephant, I think, probably under the right conditions, probably is the strongest land animal and could kill one-on-one any other animal, perhaps. It's not a rhino. You're really close, though. Not a hippo, not a rhino, not an elephant. Is it what? Well, I mean, in its territory, all of these things live very close together. All right, I'm going to give it to you. Not a hyena, but very good, too. And if we were talking pack animals, I think I'd go with the hyena. They have, like, a jaw of, like, their bite. Strongest bite. Yeah, exactly. I would go with a giraffe. And here's why. The giraffe is very difficult to kill because it's on those 4 legs, and it can kick basically any land animal and essentially knock it out. So like a lion, a hippo, the rhino, it has a really strong kick, but that's not what makes it the strongest thing. It's that fucking neck with those horns on the top. A giraffe, when it whips its neck around and it hits something with those 2 things on top, it'll kill just about anything. It just doesn't have to use it very often because it can run away, and usually it's just protecting its young. But a giraffe, I think, is one of the most devastating animals. It just isn't normally seen as like a powerful animal. I guess it is seen as a powerful animal, but it's not in your traditional lions, tigers, bears, kind of strong animals that people think of. But I think that the giraffe is a very underrated, very strong animal. Oh my God, you got that right. When they fight each other, yeah, it's wild.
You remember April the giraffe?
April the giraffe. Help me with April the giraffe.
He was a mother of he was a giraffe that was born captive, and he had kids and all that. That was pretty cool. That they basically had a long lives.
Oh, very interesting.
That's good.
JH, what's your favorite animal?
That's good.
I know it's like picking a song.
I would keep something. I'd go with lion from first century Americans. I don't think that they.
Lion's tight. You know, a lion has a prickly hair, kind of like Dick. No, it's like it's got a. Right. It has like. That's correct. They're barred, and they painfully scratch the female insides to both remove competing sperm and stimulate ovulation. For all species of the cat family, mating is painful. It's not the biting that hurts the female, it's the male's penis, which is barbed with 100 tiny hooks. Damn. Where would you hear this? So like farm cats? I gotcha. I don't think I ever heard that. So it's rape. It's the way of the world. Sadly. Hey. Yeah, so that makes up for it. Bob Dobbs, are you here with us? Bob Dobbs might be out for the count, but Bob Dobbs and I watched the Oscars along with Tempura. No, you're good. You're good. You even told us in advance you weren't going to be able to make it. No big deal at all. I was surprised we even had anyone. And that's phenomenal. We had quite a few people throughout the entire program, and we watched the SEC Women's Basketball Championship. And if you weren't aware, there was a fight that took place in it between the South Carolina Gamecocks and the LSU Tigers, and they had to bring out the police. And I think like 5 people from South Carolina were 5 players from South Carolina were suspended for the next game, which is the NCAA tournament. So basically, yeah, they're going to be the number 1 seed, and they're only going to be able to play like 5 players, like right off the bench. It's like something like they've got 5 players who were suspended for a game because of this fight. Something happened where there was a fight that took place, and somebody came from out of the stands, jumped over the scorer's table, and got into the fight. I think it was one of the coaches, like a relative of one of the coaches or something, like a nephew or a son or something, and they arrested that person and took him away. It was wild. No, it was started on the floor. It's just a hard-fought game between the 2 teams. South Carolina is undefeated this year. They're really tough. It was something like that, yeah. And so that that was definitely a change. And then USC beat Stanford in the Pac-12 championship. It'll be the last Pac-12 championship of like the women's basketball ever, because the Pac-12 is no more, or it won't be the same. It'll be like the WAC or whatever with the Pac-12 labeling. And then next Sunday is Selection Sunday. JH, do you do brackets? Do you fill out a bracket? Like March Madness bracket? That's okay. There are like 64 teams that play each other in the men's and women's basketball championship every year in college. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm going to get people to do it in the community. We'll have like 2 or 3 days to fill it out, but it's a lot of fun. So be ready for that. The fight? You mean when the what? Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, I can even play that. Just a moment. Absolutely. Let me pull that up. LSU, USC. Yeah, you get that right. All right, here's what happened. Should play in a second. I don't believe it. We've got Bob Dobbs here. All right, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. I'll try to get the sound.
Things escalate on both sides. Coaching staffs coming out to try to pull their players away. Blood on her lip. Let's see what just happened again. Lonnie Johnson holds on to Malaysia for Wiley. And then Flaget pushes Watkins. That's when Cardoso comes up and pushes Flaget down. Somebody jumped over the scores table from the stands.
Do you guys remember Malice at the Palace? That was the best fight you're ever going to see. When it was the Pistons versus the Pacers at the Palace at Auburn Hills, like in 2007. That's where Ron Artest bought like half of the stadium in Detroit. Anyway, if you're not aware of what I'm referencing, it was a game between the Pistons and the Pacers. I'll just show it to you. It's the biggest fight of any fight that's ever happened at a sporting event. Malice at the Palace. Absolutely. I think it's always been okay to fight in hockey. We're going to look it up, though. The big thing, I think, is when will hockey ban it? Fighting in ice hockey. Absolutely, that's right. Fighting is an established tradition in North American ice hockey, with a long history that involves many levels of amateur and professional play, and it includes some notable fights. Fights may be fought by enforcers or goons, players whose role it is to fight and intimidate on a given team, and are governed by a system of unwritten rules that players, coaches, and officials in the media refer to as the code. Some fights are spontaneous, while others are premeditated by the participants. While officials tolerate fighting during hockey games, they impose a variety of penalties on players who engage in fights. So it seems like it's always been a part of it. I'm going to check on that though. It says fighting has been a part of ice hockey since the sport's rise in popularity in the 19th century in Canada. There are a number of theories behind the integration of fighting into the game. The most common is that the relative lack of rules in the early history of hockey encouraged physical intimidation and control. Other theories include the poverty and high crime rates of local Canada in the 19th century. There was also an influence from working-class lacrosse players who transitioned to ice hockey when lacrosse adopted an amateur-only policy in Canada and who were accustomed to a violently aggressive form of play. The implementation of some features such as the blue lines in 1918 actually encouraged fighting due to the increased level of physical play. Creation of the blue lines allowed forward passing, but only in the neutral zone. Therefore, puck handlers played at close quarters and were subject to a great deal of physical play. The emergence of enforcers who protected the puck handlers and fought when necessary followed shortly thereafter. So it seems like it's always been a part of it. Malice at the Palace was, I mean, they threw guys out of the league for like a few years after this. I mean, maybe like it's the longest suspensions that the NBA has ever put out. So here's the Malice in the Palace. Are you shitting me? I have to watch it on Facebook. That's such bullshit. I swear to God, I will flip out if I have to watch this on Facebook and it doesn't work. If it works, I'll live with it. Here we go, Facebook. So it's just a hard foul, nothing crazy. Then Ben Wallace and I think Ron Artest start going at it. And it doesn't really get crazy until they start getting into the stands and they start fighting the whole crowd. Once they start fighting the whole crowd, it's like you're not going to take on 40,000 people. Like, I know you're big, but like, dog, these guys, they have just dozens of people that can surround you and destroy you. And Ron Artest goes up into the stands and starts swinging at people. And I think he broke some guy's face. What is this? 2007, 2006? I'll find out. I was watching it live in college. And my roommate was a big Pistons fan, and the Pistons were really good then. And it was 2004 actually. Apologies. And it was. We would always reference it. So as I said, I don't know if I was exactly in college. I could have been in high school, but I remember this was huge. It was like the biggest fight to ever happen in a game. So just so you know what happened, because I know it's hard to see. Here's like the play-by-play at the house. So and I want to say we knew some people, or I knew some people when I was in college who were at it, but I didn't know them yet. Basically, like I would learn that they would have been at this game. The Malice at the Palace, also known as the Pistons Brawl, was a fight involving both players and fans that occurred during an NBA game between the Indiana Pacers and defending champion Detroit Pistons, November 19, 2004, at the Palace of Auburn Hills. The Associated Press called it the most infamous brawl in NBA history, without a doubt. With the Pacers leading 97-82 and with 45 seconds left in the game, Pistons center Ben Wallace attempted a layup shot, but was fouled from behind by Pacers small forward Ron Artest. A furious Wallace then shoved Artest, and a fight broke out on the court between the players in both teams. The players had been separated. Game officials were discussing consequences, and Artest was lying on the scorer's table, penning an interview, when a fan named John Green, this is huge, hit him with a drink thrown from several rows up in the stands. So Ron Artest is lying prone on the scorer's table when somebody launches a drink at him and hits him in the face. He gets up. Artis immediately charged into the crowd and grabbed another fan. So he grabs the wrong guy, Michael Ryan, whom he mistakenly believed was the culprit. Several Pacers teammates followed. More drinks and punches were thrown, and the incident escalated into a large brawl that spread from the stands to the court and involved fans and players from both teams. The game was never completed. That was the funny thing. They never finished it. As a massive police presence was called to the venue to restore order and then to allow the visiting Pacers to safely leave the building. The whole Palace of Open Hills was not, they were very good at the time. They had just won the NBA championship. Detroit was like on top of the world when it came to their basketball. They wouldn't let anybody fuck with them. After the game, the NBA suspended 9 players, including Artest and Wallace, for a total of 146 games, leading the players losing $11 million in salary. 5 players were charged with assault and eventually sentenced to a year of probation and community service. 5 fans also faced assault charges and were banned from attending Pistons home games for life. The fight also led the NBA to increase security between players and fans and limit the sale of alcohol at games. So basically, I want to say how many people were involved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, okay, so what were the suspensions? Ron Artest actually changed his name. He became Meta World Peace. If you know who Meta World Peace is, he changed his name from Ron Artest to Meta World Peace because he wanted to no longer be associated with this event anymore. I think he has since changed his name back to Ron Artest, but let me check on that. Oh no, he's Meta Sandiford Artest now. So he was born Ron Artest, but so he's been Meta. But I mean, this event affected him so much that he changed his name because he didn't want to be associated with it anymore. So what happened? It was huge. Ron Artest was suspended for the remainder of the season. That was 86 games, 73 regular season, 13 playoff games. Steven Jackson was suspended 30 games. Also, Ron Artest was suspended $5 million. He lost $5 million. Steven Jackson, 30 games. Jermaine O'Neal, 15 games. Originally was 25, but it was reduced on appeal. Ben Wallace was 6 games. Anthony Johnson was 5 games. Reggie Miller was 1 game. Chauncey Billups was 1 game. Derek Coleman was 1 game. Aiden Campbell was 1 game. Basically, the community service that they had to do, 60 hours, Artest, Harrison, Jackson, and O'Neal, and 100 hours for Johnson. They had to do anger management theory. They had 1 year probation, and they all would basically receive similar sentences. It was just crazy to think that, you could have such a fight. So today's fight in this game was, while serious, wasn't anything like that. But it will affect the NCAA tournament a little bit. It shouldn't affect South Carolina too much, though. They've got the number 1 team in the country. They're undefeated. And even though they lost their first 5 of their players, they have a very deep bench. So they should do pretty well. But yeah, that was big. James Kaminsky, did you have a chance to see your Lady Cornhuskers?
I believe they lost.
Yeah, no, they did. They did lose, but what I was saying is they came very close to being Big Ten champions.
Yeah.
They took, I want to say they took Caitlin Clark to overtime. I could be wrong on that, though.
They play Iowa?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do too, my friend.
Yeah, that's important. But nonetheless, I'm proud. Michigan here.
There you go. That's big.
Huge.
I think they just lost to them last week or something. So did they beat Michigan in the Big Ten tournament? The men?
Okay, shit. So this women's game.
It did go to overtime. Yeah, that's why I was saying Nebraska almost beat them, and I know. And Caitlin Clark didn't play that well.
Man, that would have been so sick.
Right. And you were at the game like a month ago. Exactly. So they almost pulled it off again. Absolutely. Now, how about these men? Men Huskers. Dude, they're gonna. So they destroyed Michigan, but Michigan sucks dick this year. Michigan has 8 wins. All right, so it looks like they're the 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and they play on Friday. All right, so let's look at the ESPN projections. What do you think they're going to be overall? I've got them at a 7 seed. Oh, no, I'm not saying they won't. I'm saying they're going to do so maybe as a 7 seed. All right, so we've got a bracket. We need to look at bracketology. All right. Bracket watch. On the bubble. 6-18 bracket. I'm looking for them. I don't see them yet. They've got to play in the Midwest. Come on, they're South. Well, I'm not seeing them in here. Let me but I could just be missing. Yeah, they're the number 3 team in the. They're in here. I just gotta find them. I just must have went time too quickly. Just 1 moment. They've gotta be in here. I think so. Big Tech is right. Dude, I'm looking at this. I'm looking. Okay, I see Illinois is a 4 seed, and they're 1 spot ahead of Nebraska. Okay, Big Ten. They're saying the Big Ten gets 5 teams in. But as I see, okay, the 5 teams they would say that they get would be Illinois, Wisconsin is 2, Michigan State is 3, Northwestern is 4. They got Northwestern in here. And Purdue's 5. Dude, this is such horseshit. I've never seen anything like this. Nebraska is literally the number 3 team in the Big Ten. And the ESPN is saying that the Big Ten will get 5 teams in. And Nebraska is not one of them. That is horseshit. That is unbelievable. Well, I mean, what else do they have to do? Okay, so let's see what they say. Time for the annual bracketology. In with a win and in. Out without. Like, they should be on the bubble. They should be on the bubble at least. They're not even in the fucking bubble. What do they have to do? I mean, I could see that. Okay. Nebraska March Madness. Welcome to the bubble. Drake's in it. Drake's in Iowa, isn't it? Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is unbelievable that they are a 22-9 squad, and they are number 3 in the Big Ten, and they're not even getting any love to get into the tournament. Like they're not even considered. Quite a statement this evening from Big Ten bubble teams. I've listened to a lot of them. Have I ever called into any of them? One time, I saw one doing a live remote, and I asked him a question. They had like a question, like try to stump the sports guy, and I didn't know what to ask. And my dad said, ask them if they know what Mickey Mantle's lifetime career batting average is. And this is a time, like, that's a hard question now. It was a hard question then, but it was a little easier because people were really into Mickey Mantle. And I think Mickey Mantle batted 297 as a career. And while the guy didn't know it exactly, I think he said 299 or something. Career batting average. Oh, he batted 298. Oh, Husker Nightly? What is that? Like Husker sports radio every night? Hell yeah, I love that shit. All right, Husker Nightly. Is it on 5 nights a week? Oh, I'm going to have to get on that. Husker Nightly. Husker's radio station podcast. Yeah, man, I'm going to become an icon in Nebraska. You watch. Absolutely. Is it Sports Nightly? No, it's Husker Nightly. That's okay. It's got to be Sports Nightly. Okay. Well, that means we got an opportunity for Husker Nightly. I'm sure we could make that work in Lincoln and Omaha. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, if we're going to be talking Husker sports 24/7, you don't think I'm going to do some plugs for that when we're doing it on 150 different accounts on 23 different platforms? Absolutely. I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to be like, we're on 23 different streams. That's how many wins the Nebraska Cornhusker men's basketball team has this year. I'm going to reference everything as that. I got to look this up. Nebraska, they are 22-9. Okay, so we're live on 23, so they'll have to get one more win. I'm just shocked that they're not getting any love as the number 3 team in the Big Ten. They got 2 other Big Ten teams, 2 shitbag teams. They've got Northwestern in there. Northwestern sucks cock, and they got somebody else in there. Ooh. Dude, ESPN hates you. They have since like Bo Pelini. Do you know who Bo Pelini is? Right? Isn't that who it was? Yeah, Bo Pelini took over after Tom Osborne, didn't he, or something like that? Oh yeah, Frank Solich. That's right. What did you think of Frank Solich? That's right. I think Frank Solich won. He won something. He won. Bill Callahan. You like him? Oh, that was totally different than what you're used to with that option. Do you remember Tim Couch? He was Nebraska's last Heisman Trophy winner. Hold on. I might be wrong. That's not his name. That's not his name. Not Tim Keller. That's right. Eric Crouch. Eric Crouch is his name. That's right. That's right. He was dirty. Yeah, dog. He was dirty. He was good. I mean, he was good. I don't mean he was a dirty player. I mean, he was like a really good player. He's dirty. Yeah, he's like the last, aside from what is that motherfucker's name? Who was a really dirty player, and he was dirty. Oh wait. Yeah. Nebraska defensive player. He had Soy. What was his name? Adonijah Sue. Yeah. I think he retired, but he was very dirty. Meaning, he was a dirty player. He would like step on players when they were on the ground. I would imagine he. Oh yeah, I've seen him on something. He does. If you ever watch foreign NFL coverage, like for like I don't know, like South Africa or like England, he does like Amazon Prime or some kind of coverage for them. I'll look it up right now. Okay, so he played for the Lions for 45 years, then the Dolphins and the Rams and the Buccaneers, then the Eagles. He was a Super Bowl champion. That's pretty cool. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, I think, or no, the Buccaneers. What is it? Professional career, yeah. Lions. 21. He does something like that. And Donovan Sue, he's an anchor for someone. Anyway, I almost feel like he can't get on ESPN or any of those stations just because he was so dirty. Maybe he'll be able to, or he's just getting his feet wet. But basically, he has to do overseas NFL stuff. All right, what does it say? It's something like that. It's like a South Africa or something. He what would I call that? Like sports analyst, I guess. Yeah, he's NFL media believes he's poised for broadcast stardom. What is this? He's bright broadcasting future. I want to say it was on like Amazon, but it could have been on something else. Anyway, the reason why it's interesting to see him is so it's the coverage of NFL sports overseas is so much different than how it is in the United States. Like in the United States, I'll have like Terry Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson and Howie Long, or like Michael Strahan, guys who've really played, and like all the people who are there basically is either all played or they're really into it. Like I don't know, the guy like James Brown or whatever. Like I don't think played football, but he is really into it. He's been like on Fox or CBS for like 25 years. Okay. So then they'll do the international games. And these international games are literally just like soccer commentators who don't know anything about American football, and Ndamukong Suh. So they'll be like, basically opposites, complete opposites. They'll have like a white guy who is really into soccer, a white girl who is really into soccer. Both of those people don't know anything about American football, and then they'll have Ndamukong Suh, who knows a lot about football, but has nothing in common with these people. And it's literally the absolute worst chemistry that you've ever seen for sports. Yeah, man. I've seen him a few times on it because it's like, what is he doing here? Like doing this, being a sports analyst, and it really is. It really is. It's very much like a fish out of water. It was very much like the BBC or I think it's Sky Sports. Now that I think about it, and now I can see Sky Sports. That's what it is, Sky Sports. So if you know like BBC's competitor, yes, here it is. And now we can see former Super Bowl champion to join Sky Sports NFL coverage. Yes, that's what it is. So if you know what Sky is, it's like the competitor of BBC, and that's what it was. So if you got like 2 or 3 British people on there, and then the Down Sue, and you can just imagine it's like 2 or 3 people who literally like don't. I don't want to say they don't know about it, but it's pretty obvious. There's no in-depth discussion like you're going to see perhaps on American coverage. It's literally just like, oh yeah, we're here to promote this, because it's something that we carry. And then Dom can sue. And the other funny thing about it is normally they have another, like, this is what's hilarious about it. On any kind of sports coverage I've ever seen, in the pregame or the halftime or whatever, they always have multiple athletes there, like multiple NFL guys. They just don't have one. But literally, it was like Sky was like, no, we only have budget for one guy. So he doesn't get to talk to anybody else who knows anything about football. He's just there to sit. And literally, they signed this contract, and that's what it is. And so you'll just have 2 British people who probably don't know that much about the game commenting and down and so he just sits there. Sky Sports, you got to check it out sometime. It's good stuff. Yeah, that's right. So he is not at all. He's not engaging. He's there for a paycheck, and he knows no one in the United States is watching him. Like, that's clear to him. He knows no one, period, is watching him, and he's just like, I'll even pull him up here. Okay, Sky Sports. Here's just a random thing that he says, and I don't know if this is good. I mean, it's like one of the clips that they're featuring him. Oh, unsupported location, because it's like I'm in the United States, and you know how stupid this is, because the NFL doesn't want you to be able to watch it in like different areas. That's what I want to show you. Let's see if we can pull it. And Demogorgon Sue says that he embraced the dirty player reputation and praised former CEO Nike Phil Knight for his help. All right, let's see if this works.
For a number of years in the NFL, dirtiest man in the NFL. All of the things that were said about you. How did you deal with that? Were you able to shut it out, or did some of that bother you? I definitely was able to hear it. I didn't shut it out. I embraced it, and one of the people that helped me embrace it was Phil Knight. And just having an opportunity to have conversations with him and understand, it's like, you're a defensive lineman, one a football player that has a helmet on that not a lot of people know. They know you now, but then also understand, I know your character. That's not who you are. And one thing I learned about this league, you got to have a pretty boy Tom Brady, and then you got to have a villain, and who's going after him. And that's what defensive guys are. And I embrace it. And if I'm not doing my job right, that means you like me. So I want to do my job right. I don't want you to like me. Phil Knight's from Nike, right? Yes. Founder of Nike, yeah. And the skills that he had was the huge part of it, but so was the demeanor and the mystique, wasn't it?
Yeah, massively. And you still have. I got you. Don't worry. No, absolutely. I mean, and also, it's not easy for someone like yourself to go into these different locker rooms as a veteran and really integrate with them, but you're also a great leader. And I think, we've gotten the opportunity to see your character, but we also know, I think some of the best athletes and players I've seen are people that can switch that on and off and having that ability.
This guy changes the way you play defense, right? Because of what he does at the line of scrimmage allows you to be creative in the secondary. You have another player that can be in pass coverage because it takes 2 people to block him every single snap. And I'm telling you, as a defensive back, knowing he's
maybe they found somebody else.
And I know when that ball is coming out. That's
That's why he needs to take rest on second down. Come out on third. We need to get off the field soon. I know when you're playing, you're in that kind of bubble, right? Week to week, game to game, all of that. Did you ever think about your stature in the game?
I just can't take someone with a British accent seriously talking about football.
A lot of pass rushing defensive tackles getting paid. You were at the start of a lot of those people, the Aaron Donalds, the Chris Jones, the Fletcher Coxes. Yeah, it wasn't until probably my 4th or 5th year in my career that I really started to understand some of
It is.
guys really looking up to.
It's like not normal football discussion. You can tell they're trying, but you can tell it's for an international audience as well. Right. Now, the girl who is on here, she's pretty good. So I actually watched far more Sky sports coverage than I really remember. This year, I probably watched 6 or 7 games that they did just because I would just bootleg it from somewhere. And a lot of times that's the stream they would use. And I don't know. I think I'm biased. It's just hard for me to hear football analysis from someone from England because it just, I will say the same thing. I'm biased. I'm not as biased, I would say, against women who would be giving the discussion. Because I think that they see it like the American game more than the British see the American game. I don't know. I'm just not used to it, I guess. Like, I'm used to former players. I don't care what they look like, but they're going to tell me what the game was like. Now you're giving me like people who've never played the game. Maybe they're not even from that country, and maybe they're not even the gender that normally plays it. And now you're going to tell me about it. And you know, sometimes they have good things to say, but it just takes me a little bit more to get there because I'm just not used to those people normally telling me how the game works.
Yeah, that's a fair bias.
Like, I think that there are, like, and I'm admitting there's bias to that. You know, we're seeing a different world now where we're having female umpires and female referees, and we'll have female coaches and perhaps even female kickers and players maybe someday at some level, to some extent, like long snappers or something. And I'm not against it. I'm for whatever person can play the game the best. So if you have a female kicker and she's better than all the male kickers that you can recruit, go for it. That's fine. I don't care about that. Where it gets strange to me is, well, at least in this coverage, I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like they just use the same anchors for their soccer coverage. Like when we watched that with the Down too, couldn't you see that guy doing a soccer, like the same kind of like anchoring of a soccer match as opposed to a football match? Exactly.
Yeah, it's not that he's like an expert on the sport. He's just like a well-rounded anchor.
Exactly. And I guess that's what it kind of reminded me of too much is soccer broadcasts. And I don't know. If I were Sky Sports, I guess I would try to make it more like CBS or Fox's coverage. But I guess that's not what they want in an international audience. They want maybe a little bit of soccer audience, maybe the female audience or a female point of view, which I think is good. I think it's so long as they're knowledgeable. There's this one for ESPN. This lady went to Yale, and I will say,
What are your thoughts on like diversity?
yeah, I mean those are tough because it's like, what do you consider someone? Like we all come from Africa. If you follow us back, like to the cradle of civilization, so can't we all say that we're African Americans? Or Elon Musk calls himself an African American. So why is he protected by something that wasn't put in place to protect him? I have a lot of friends of mine. I hate to say this, but they're from South Africa, and they use that. They check African American, and they get into really good schools because of that. Exactly. That's what these people look like. They look like Charlize Theron, and they're getting into Ivy League schools because of it. This girl who went to Yale. Okay, so Mina Kimes, I just remember being like, dude, this girl's gonna talk football. She's like the first female reporter who was on like one of those talking head shows, and she does a really good job of it. And I mean, she's like the opposite of what I would think would be giving me my sports coverage. She's an Asian Ivy League woman telling me about football. And at first I was hesitant, but I will say that it's the same as if anybody else was doing it. And she's attractive, so I should like it even more. I'm just not used to it. So admittedly, like, I'm for these progressive efforts, it just takes me a little longer to embrace them. And I think when given a chance, sometimes I see these improvements as excellent, and I really like them. I guess I'm just not used to it. I don't know if I'm intimidated. No, she's not. I know she's married because I looked it up because I'm like, damn, she's really kind of total package. This woman can talk sports. She's smart. She's pretty. I don't know if so much intimidated because I'm happy that she knows this kind of stuff. I think it's just like still just not used to it, surprised by it. But if I weren't positive to it, I mean, I wouldn't try to look her up and be like, oh, you know, this is the person who I wanted to highlight as I think a really good example of someone who knows their stuff and can hang with people, but normally, you know, wouldn't think that this person would know all that much about it, and she does.
So would you say maybe like if you go to like a Mexican food restaurant and you get like a burger, like I wasn't expecting to have a burger here, but it's a good burger.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's kind of like a pleasant surprise, I guess. And I would say in the same way that some of these anchors have been a pleasant surprise, a lot of them have been. I mean, in order to be an anchor on ESPN, you have to know your stuff pretty well. But I think we've changed over from females in the industry who are just hosts or co-hosts or like sideline reporters. And yes, it is. And now they're anchors, and they are like, analysts, and they weren't given those roles before. And now that I see them with those roles, I see that they're doing a really good job. I can tell you this I've been watching football, not at all like that in depth, but like they have female referees now, and I can't tell you that they're any better or worse than the male referees, which is a good thing. Basically, I think all the referees suck. So I don't think that, but you know, like there's not like a movement like, oh, these certain gender of referees are bad. No, I don't. It's not that at all. I was thinking about this tonight as I was watching the Academy Awards, which have always been, or recently in particular, like these, every year there's like a theme, like almost like minorities who won as a theme, or like women who won as a theme. And I was watching it and I'm thinking to myself, I really look forward to a day when we can have all of the winners, different backgrounds, like different diversities, whatever, but we don't talk about it. It's not like a thing. When we get to that day, that'll be really special. Meaning, like, people will win for their own art and not because of who they are with, you know, what they're associated. I heard a quote of Morgan Freeman once on race, and it's kind of become my motto it comes to race, and that is this. His quote is something like this: if you want race to go away, stop talking about it. And what does that mean? Basically, it was 60 Minutes quote. That's right. That's what it is. It is that interview. But, but basically, I think what he says is quite brilliant and accurate, and I look forward to a day when we get to that. Like tomorrow, when we hear about the Oscar winners, I don't want to hear. I mean, I'm glad that like people of color won, and I want that to happen more often. But I look forward to a day when we just see it as people who won, not people of color who won. Like I wanted to just be like we've moved past that. I think there are discussions of this where there's like a post-racial world or something like that. And I'm not saying we have to not talk about our history or our heredity or anything like that, but I think it would be a special day when we no longer have to like check off little things and we can just embrace art for art's sake. Now, this means that we may have to make a change to some of the awards, meaning, like, here's an interesting one. We have, like, Best Actor and Best Actress, and, like, Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress. And there's Best Director, but there's no, like, Best Directress. There's no, like, Best Female Director. And there you go. Exactly. Now that's when we get into an interesting world where it's just one person. And, you know, I don't know how Hollywood's going to like that because they're all vying for those positions. But eventually the state of California is already moving towards this gender neutral terminology everywhere in the state. And the academy is located in the state of California. I can see it happening very quickly where, well, then what would you do? How do you define it? I think you might just have 2 Best Actor winners at that point. I don't see an issue with that. Just have 2 Best Actor winners, and then one can be whatever you want it to be, a man or a woman. Another can be a man and woman. Some years 2 women could win. Some years 2 men can win. It's no big deal. Right? You're not an aviator, you're an aviatrix, not a dominator, you're a dominatrix. Absolutely. I'm in agreement. I think that they should open it up to more people. But I mean, we're getting there. We're not there yet. We're moving towards there, and it'll be generations, but I look forward to that day that Morgan Freeman references where if you want to stop people from being racist, stop talking about race. And it's true. If you taught children, I mean, and like they've done studies on this, where if you don't tell children that people look differently than they do, they may observe it, but sometimes they don't even, it doesn't even bother, like, I don't even say it doesn't bother them. They don't even know it's a difference. Like someone's eyes may look different or someone's skin may look different, but the child doesn't know that and they won't recognize it unless you tell them that it's different. And so they'll become friends at a young age with people of all backgrounds because they don't have any of these predetermined judgments on certain people of society. And I think that we can learn a lot from children. The fact that many of these emotions and behaviors that are promoted by people are learned and observed and are not inherent. Basically, if you didn't know any better, you could have a black friend, a white friend, a yellow friend, a red friend, a blue friend, a green friend. And if no one told you that was any different, you wouldn't know any different. It's only when you see that from a larger society and see how society interprets these behaviors, does it have an effect on your relationship with your friend?
But the thing is, Rabbi, it's not just like you're like personal hatred towards one another, it's racism itself. It's also a political thing as well as money neighbor, greed, so on and so forth. There's a whole variation of different forms of racism.
Oh, definitely. And the powers that be will keep this going for as long as possible. So right now they keep us separated by saying we're different races. Well, very soon we'll move towards kind of a beige color where we're all the same kind of color. Okay, then they'll divide us on blue versus red. Okay, well then they'll divide us on East Coast versus West Coast, or they'll divide you on people who like staying up at night versus being up in the morning. They will continue to keep creating divisive topics as each generation goes so that the people don't ever get united. It's a sad state of affairs.
Towards a better place, I'd definitely be yours too.
I hope so.
Because systemically, when you down on roads and we are subjected to it, subject our kids to it. Every single like variation of life is just like throwing it at you. Really logical.
I've seen a thing that like they also use those tactics in like mental health as well with kids.
I've seen that.
Just fairly recently I learned about it, but the more you like go and run, like the child's emotions, like so how do you feel those things? They like they create a thing that doesn't exist, and you introduce psychoses that don't otherwise organically occur, but they're like implied upon you through like an adult. It's kind of fascinating.
That is fascinating.
That is how it was wired.
Yeah.
I used to be us too. They all like get to it, but rapping like they know it's bad for them. They're listening to my evil stuff. They're gonna listen to anyone because their friends are. It's also the wide variation of different things. Black race and one. Like that being right.
That's what I want to know. Why the fuck did you change your name from Mammoth Queen to send it to $0 straight to $0? No one knows what the fuck that means. I mean, I know what it means, but what are we sending to zero? Mammoth Queen, send it to $0. We asked you a question. Send it to $0. Are you snoring on camera again? He's out. No, he's up. He's up. He's up. Hey, send it to $0. Why did you change your name from Mammoth Queen to send it to $0? What are we sending to $0? Oh. Okay. Are you fucking stupid? How much profit did you take? What? You're like the biggest cheater on earth.
Yeah, I didn't take profit at all. I sold when it was down.
Why would you do such a thing?
Which goes to show I'm not really cheating. I didn't sell for the money. But I sold to go to different people who had different profit. It's not what I mean. I sold to put into a deep backpack.
Dog, you know we hit an all-time high recently, right?
Yeah, I sold the day after I sold you guys for 25.
Exactly. You are the king of cheaters.
No, so silly. But, it's okay.
So why don't you buy it again? We're gonna bring this bitch to $10.
That's,
Dog, send it to zero, aka Mallet Queen. I really mean this. In the time that we've known each other, Bitcoin has been worth less than a cent, and now is worth like what, 29 cents? Wills, we got Wills in here. Wills is out here just slanging dick like a motherfucker, just beating up pussy like it's going out of style. How you doing, Wills?
I'm good. I speak with one of my buddies. I'm starting with Telegram. It's a program. Yeah, I was just starting Bitcoin. I think they might be doing. Yeah.
Is he gonna join our Telegram?
Yeah.
Get his ass in here. Hey, what's your friend's name? What's your friend's name? We want to make fun of him. Hey, we want Will's friend to get in here so we can come in here and make friends with him. Dude, we watched the Oscars. We watched UFC 299 yesterday. We watched the Super Bowl in here. You name it, we do it. Yeah. What'd you say? That's exactly right. So we watched the Oscars tonight. We watched UFC 299 yesterday. We watched the Super Bowl a few weeks ago. What else did we watch on here? We watched the World Cup. We watched the World Series. We watched every NFL game. We even watched like NFL Red Zone in here. If you know what NFL Red Zone is, it's like 5 different games at once. I am usually the one who streams it, but like yesterday for UFC 299, we had multiple people in here streaming. So I was streaming on the projector, and then we also had somebody who was sharing their screen, which is totally cool too. I want the best quality that we can get. So some people want to watch it bigger, some people want to watch it smaller. Hey, I don't mind it. Wait. I'm not sure on the fight yesterday. I know I didn't, but we do get people in here who certainly place wagers. Absolutely, Ken. Thank you so much. Did you know that you're live on 5 different YouTubes right now? Yeah, Doug. You're live on 5 different YouTube streams right now. You're live on 5 different Twitters right now, live streams. You're live on 5 different Twitches. You're live on 5 different Rumbles, 5 different Noros, 5 different Odysseys, 5 different Kicks, and another like 13 different platforms. You're live on 23 different platforms and 23 different platforms on 5 different laptops each, which is like over it's like 115 different accounts. No, I want to capture life in 360 degrees. So I want people to be able to see me from the front, from the back, and from the sides, and also perhaps see me from above as well. So I have kind of a ceiling cam going too. Absolutely. I want them to be able to see these muscles in 360 degrees. That's right. I am everywhere, though, and I'm creating more data than any person has ever created in global history. I've been doing this live for almost 3 years now, and it's over 300,000 hours of streaming, which is more than 10 times more data than Mr. Beast and PewDiePie have on YouTube combined. Thank you, sir. And all night. Yep. I lie down and then people come in and sometimes try to wake me up or just have really interesting conversations while I'm in here. And then I also absolutely. Yeah, all the time. They try to make really loud noises. Definitely. They know I'm on camera. They'll call me on my phone. They'll do anything they can. They think it's hilarious. And I embrace it because I like people being here. So I don't mind it at all.
What happened before you were there? You were this like always on 24/7, friend bot. You're a friend bot. What did people get before you? Was there a video channel?
It would only be like as needed. So basically, if they needed to have some kind of like conference call, they might bring someone in, but they might only have like 2 or 3 calls a month when I have a call literally 24/7, 365. This stream has been going for like, aside from an admin accidentally closing it at one point, like last month or something, basically every single day, 24/7, for 9 straight months.
What happens when you go to a restaurant?
I usually order all my food in, though I do go to restaurants sometimes and I live stream it, or I'll go to the store and I live stream it. I live stream it on Instagram. I live stream it on Twitter. I live stream it on YouTube. I live stream it on TikTok. And then also sometimes when I sleep as well, depending on who's here and about what we're discussing, I will turn on a podcast all night and we'll just listen to podcasts all night. Take care, Wills. Make sure that your friend joins whenever they have the opportunity, and we look forward to seeing them. Excellent. The Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, it's amazing. That was episode 1998, I think. Let's check it. I could be wrong. It might be 1999. RFK Jr., JRE. What number is it? 1999. So there you go. I was pretty darn close. Yeah, you're right. I can. Yeah, it's just, I listened to that one. Right.
I'm gonna depart, but I'll see you tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, you take care, my friend. See you, friend. Sorry about that, guys. If you're like, why the hell do we have so much feedback? You can blame your favorite rabbi for that. Apologies. I was trying to make it so I can hear you guys better. The person who I really have a problem hearing is J8. So just for a moment, I'm trying to adjust my speaker so I can hear him better. Does anyone know what Coast to Coast AM is? Hell yeah, that's my shit. James, you asked, do I ever call into sports radio? Generally, the answer to that is no. However, I do call him the Coast to Coast AM. Hell yeah. And I record it and then I put it on Instagram. Absolutely. Art Bell. You're welcome. Hey, did you guys know that we have Mason the Mochi in here? Mason the Mochi, you little bitch. We've been waiting for you all day. We watched the Oscars. And what up, Mason? How you doing, baby? Dog, we watched the Oscars tonight. Where were you? James Kaminsky, do you remember our friend Cookie? Yeah, we're having a cookie. Cookie's like, we're gonna send it to the moon. Bitcoin to the moon. Bitcoin to the moon. I love Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. Cookie's amazing. He knew nothing about Sesame Street, but he knew everything about shilling this coin, which is all that matters. Send it to zero. How are your dogs? Yeah. Excellent. Do they know that their owner is a world-class cheater? Okay, that's good. Send it to zero. Oh, showing us the doggies. Okay, is that Duran? Oh, that's Louis. Okay. Well, yeah, that is Louis. I should know that. Louis is a French bulldog. Dude, one day, Matt McQueen, you have to take a picture of all 4 dogs in bed with you. Are you making a pie there? That's what? Beef stew? Oh, it's pizza. Oh, okay. I can live with that. Pizza's like my favorite food. What's your favorite food? Send it to zero? Sweet Italian sausage? Yes, sir, James. Hold on 1 second. Did you say my camera's frozen? I'm not sure. I think Telegram was having a loading issue. Because when I was seeing send it to zero, his stuff is blurry. And I think my stuff is blurry for you guys. Bob Dobbs, are you there? Can you hear us, Bob Dobbs? What are the odds Bob Dobbs is there? I would say like 0%. Bob Dobbs is the man, though.
Was that at the same time your mom was in that situation?
Yeah, it was.
But that's how this all started, correct?
Yeah, right. We dived into that. Those people who are saying about me, the one TikTok and all my other handles is I always joke about I wanted to just get David Kessler, but it was already taken. And I am
Bob Dobbs is like,
Bob Dobbs is a G.
When I see I am, I'm thinking it's a whole other name. I'm thinking I am. Your name is I am. Okay, all right.
No, it's I and then A-M.
Dude, you don't know him? Haven't you ever spoken with him? Oh, he's a cool guy. He is from like South Carolina. Yeah. Oh, and so Send It to Zero? Oh, you're from North Carolina. That's right. Very cool. He's a nice person. He's very down to earth and very straight shooter, meaning like don't. I mean, not that you bullshit anyone, but don't waste his time with bullshit. Just get to it. I like it too. You know, somebody had asked me my favorite podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, probably, but just because he has so much content, there are some others that I like. The one that I would say that I like that's a more traditional podcast, or because like his is more like a video podcast, is this one called The Explorers. It's just called The Explorers Podcast, and it's the story of all the great explorers of history. So some of them were terrible people. Like Christopher Columbus was a terrible person, meaning like he enslaved people and did all kinds of other things. But you learn all this stuff about them that you never knew. Like I didn't know this about Christopher Columbus, that he had very bad cataracts. And a lot of these sailors had really bad cataracts that would form because they would be staring into the like ocean abyss so often, and the reflection of the sunlight from the ocean into their eyes would cause them really bad cataracts. So by the end of his life, Christopher Columbus was completely blind. I didn't know that. You learn all kinds of other like really interesting things, like Ernest Shackleton. If you know anything about Ernest Shackleton's story, basically was trying to become the first person to make it to the South Pole. While he failed at that, he was able to save his whole crew from like a major from utter death, basically being stranded on Antarctica during the winter. Like, how the fuck are you going to survive that? And they were able to survive, and he was able to get everybody off there and survive. Like, I don't know. Just like Hernan Cortez, when he like was conquering the Aztec people, like how interesting, like they would use like dogs. I didn't realize how much the Spanish used dogs, war dogs, on the Aztec people. Basically, like they barely had to fight. It's some crazy amount, okay, of Spanish conquerors killed like all of the Aztec people. It was like 25 people or 200 people or something. Spanish conquerors, the conquistadors, right? Versus Aztecs. It's like the numbers are ridiculous. How big was the force? Force size. Okay, they had 600 people, like total, and they took out 10,000 to 20,000 warriors. And dogs, gunpowder, horses, and then the thing that really would do them in is smallpox. Smallpox would be the thing. There was a thought that there were 200 million people in the New World prior to the Columbian exploration, and that's far higher than people thought. Basically saying that like smallpox ended up killing just huge amounts of people, and we'll basically never know how many people died from it. But in previously we thought that only like 25 million people were in the New World. Thoughts are that it's probably a lot bigger than that, maybe as many as 200 million people.
What about the differences of
There's a very famous book called Guns, Germs, Guns, Germs, and Steel, Guns and Germs or something, that covers this topic. Let's see here. What's it? Guns, Germs, and Steel. That basically covers this. It's a famous book. But the this podcast is really interesting because it's I would say it's different than other podcasts. It allows you to really follow the podcast mentally, and then they also provide you with maps so you know where the explorers were going. And just like, I don't know, in my own way, I'm an explorer of the virtual world and just this stream and documenting things and archiving things. And so I empathize with these guys. They were the first to do something, or they did it the best. They were the first to the North Pole, or the first to the South Pole, or the first to climb Everest, or the first to climb Kilimanjaro, or the first to circumnavigate the world. They were all doing something that no one had done before. And so I have a lot in common with them, or at least I feel I do, because I'm doing something no one's done before and archiving their life. And so I do my best to highlight some of their accomplishments as I accomplish my own. So if you want to know the name of that podcast, it's known as the Explorers Podcast. And the ones they cover, it's like the explorers that they cover in it are like all the areas of society where like it's like fascinating. Like the first white people to travel into Africa, how were they? Like, what did they undergo? What was that like? Like the first people to travel to India or to travel to China as Europeans, like what was that like? And to meet like the emperor and empress of China, and then to go back, like what was it like on the Silk Road, or just like these are really interesting questions to me, and to be the first person to do it is really interesting. So some of the people who they cover in this thing are, the first person is Ferdinand Magellan, which is definitely an interesting story. While he wasn't the first person to circumnavigate the globe, it was his expedition that eventually would do it. There's this fascinating story though. I forget this guy's name. Let me look it up. There's this like slave or this worker, slave, Magellan, circumnavigation. Okay, Enrique's journey. Is this the guy? Yeah. Okay. So there's this guy. So the first person who gets credit, first person. The first person to circumnavigate the globe is a lot of times given to Ferdinand Magellan, but he did not. His expedition did, but he actually died. He died in like the East Indies. So he. There's that argument to be made. So the guy who gets credit for it is, or who actually did it, is named Juan Sebastian Elcano. However, there's another guy who was a slave who there's an argument to be made that this guy was the first person to circumnavigate the globe. And the reason why, basically, the Portuguese were trying to circumnavigate the globe, in addition to the accomplishment, was they were trying to get to the Spice Islands. They wanted to find nutmeg. Nutmeg was so big to them back then, and it's thought certainly because of its spice properties, but also if you know anything about nutmeg, if you take nutmeg at high amounts, it causes hallucinations, and there's a thought that. Pardon me? Yes, it will. So, basically, there was this slave who was on board, and there's a thought that this slave might have been okay. So his name was Enrique of Malacca, and he was thought to be basically an enslaved man who beat Magellan circling the world. And the way that he did it was he was on a he was basically on an expedition before they circumnavigated the world, and he took a second half of his journey and was able to complete it before Magellan or any of the other guys. I just think like that's a really fascinating story that maybe one of the people who's credited with circumnavigating the globe, we know it's not Magellan, and it might not be even the guy who is credited with it, who is this guy, whatever the fuck his name is. Sorry, there are three guys here. There's Magellan. He did not circumnavigate the globe. There's Enrique of Malacca. He's the slave. We're thinking he did, but then the guy who gets credit for it is named Ferneo. No, sorry. He's Sebastian Elcano. So Sebastian Elcano is the one, but that's a fascinating story. So they go all through that, and it's like four different parts. Or no, yeah, it's four different parts. Then they talk about Vasco Nunez del Balboa. A lot of these guys are Spanish, and I just didn't know all that much about Spanish exploration. I know a lot more about it now. So this guy is the guy who made the first permanent colony in the Americas, and like also I think he's the guy who was the first person to see the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. I think he's the first European who's credited with seeing both the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. Basically, he made it to Panama and was able to see the Atlantic, and then you cross over and eventually saw the Pacific. There's this guy, Freya Stark. This guy's fascinating. So basically, it's a story of him during World War I and all of his travels. They've got these stories on just like, I don't know, everything from like getting to the South Pole to circumnavigating the globe to getting to the tallest peaks on Earth. It's just, to me, people who risk their lives for all of that stuff, that's really fascinating to me. Definitely. They have like one on here with Teddy Roosevelt, when like Teddy Roosevelt himself was an explorer, and the River of Doubt, and like exploring the Amazon floodplain, and like just that kind of stuff. It's just fascinating to me, or what it was like to. I've heard that. Or I've heard he's seen something like that.
I love your perspective. It's a whole different perspective that, like I said, we talked to so many people with afterlife type things, and you probably.
I remember that, and I also remember the Bull Moose Party.
Are you familiar with that?
I haven't been able to meet him in real life yet, but so many people out there are sort of, being more open and talking about these things. They used to be.
If you like Bigfoot, I like Bigfoot a lot, and so the big movie about Bigfoot, if you know, is the Patterson Gremlin film. James, you're the one who knows a lot about this, right? Yeah, you know all about it. You're like one of the few people I know who knows just far and away more about it than I do. So, look, if anything, I know a little bit on a lot of subjects, but I am in no way some people will say I'm an expert on quite a few different things, but I don't think so. I think I just know a little bit on a lot of different subjects. But one time James Kaminsky and I were talking about this, the Patterson-Gimlin film. If you're familiar with this, is JH. Do you know what the Patterson-Gimlin film is? It's the most iconic Bigfoot film. Like, if I say Bigfoot film, yeah, it's like the only one that there is. I'll show you. Just so you know what we're talking about. Like, if I show it to you, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's this one. Exactly. It's like the only. Now, if I say to you, have you ever seen any other Bigfoot footage? What would you say? Maybe, but probably that's the one that sticks out in my mind, right? Well, that's the one that sticks out in my mind. James, come in. Sorry, JH, go ahead. Exactly. Exactly. James Kaminsky, how did you get so into Bigfoot? I can see that. What's your favorite one? Which monster? Loch Ness monster. Okay. Do you know about?
You're exactly right. Hey, we're there, David. We got to take a break. We'll be back.
What are your thoughts on Mothman?
Gosh, so much more loving perspective. It's absolutely amazing and refreshing. Thank you so much.
It is super fascinating.
You can learn more. We've done yes, stay with us. Connie Willis here on Coast to Coast AM.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and a tiny cat simplifies litter care while giving your cats what they deserve. Do a finicky one like mine.
Yeah. It's the Silver Bridge or something in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
That's what Tiny Care Alert is all about. It uses color-changing crystals to help alert you of potential health concerns. Who knew that keeping an eye on my cat's health could be so simple?
Right. No, you're exactly right. Definitely. There was an explosive, but there's an ammunition warehouse, munitions factory there. Yeah.
New customers bet on any college basketball national tournament and turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. To celebrate college basketball's most frenzied time of the year, DraftKings is giving new customers a shot to rack up some bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code iHeart. New customers can bet $5 to get $150
Right.
instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code iHeart.
Did you hear about this? About this one that was near O'Hare Airport? Yeah. So they have. I'm just trying to find it because I saw a pretty good version of it in the last 2 years.
It seems our friend the Mothman has returned.
I don't know if this is it. We'll just see what it says.
West Virginia, with brand new sightings have occurred at the O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, Illinois. Check this out. Now you can pause the video and read this for yourself. But this is testimony from.
Okay, this is what they said. I heard what sounded like a chirping sound, followed by what sounded like shuffling coming from nearby. I looked around, and that's when I heard the clicking coming from across the street. I looked up and standing on the edge of the HVAC plant was a very tall, thin, human-like creature with huge wings spread out. This creature was looking directly at me with a pair of large red eyes that had the intensity of a pair of tail lights or one of the lights on the engine.
O'Hare International Airport that had a Mothman encounter. According to the firefighter, he was working one day when he heard a chirping and movement sound. When he looked around to see where the sound was coming from, he came face to face with a giant humanoid creature with a gigantic wingspan and blazing red eyes. And after a moment of staring at each other, the creature simply flew away. Now, this is not the only sighting of the legendary creature at the O'Hare International Airport. Over the last few years, there have been numerous sightings of the legendary Mothman at the airport. And they all have the same characteristics. A giant humanoid creature, a gigantic wingspan, and blazing red eyes. What makes this one different from the sightings of Point Pleasant is this sighting is accompanied with clicking and chirping sounds coming from the creature. So is this the same legendary creature that was once home in Point Pleasant?
So I don't know if that's stock footage. I've seen 2018. Yeah, that's a weird one. So I hate these ones because I used to be someone who was okay. I was very hesitant on some cryptozoology things, but I've become more open-minded as I've gotten older, and I would say that particularly when it comes to shape-shifting, we've talked about this a little bit, but that the idea of shape-shifting may be a characteristic of advanced beings that is completed either by a ingestion of a pill or some kind of reaction of a machine on them that allows them to change their physical characteristics. Okay, with that being said, that means that if shapeshifters are real, then that means by definition, every kind of cryptozoological being should be real, meaning dragons and unicorns and all that, chupacabra, all that shit. Because if a shapeshifter exists and it can shapeshift into anything, then by definition, it should be able to shapeshift into that shit. Okay, fine. Do I think that Mothman was a shapeshifted being? No. Do I think it perhaps could have been military personnel who was in some kind of jetpack? Everyone who says this thing really looked different. Yeah, but I mean, they weren't pulling that kind of stuff in the 60s. Meaning, like, this took place in Point Pleasant. Mothman took place. Mothman took place. So 1966, and I mean, it's been seen in other places too. And usually if it's like a disinformation campaign by the government, they acknowledge it. Meaning like what would be an example of this? It's hard because they don't like to acknowledge it. Okay. Operation what? Which is that? Okay, I was going to say something along the lines of MK Ultra, which I think probably Project Climax is a subgroup of that. So Project Midnight Climax. So that kind of stuff, that's a perfect example of something that has been acknowledged that they just don't necessarily emphasize anymore. Okay. Beautiful. Yes, I remember this. This is of Sidney Gottlieb. Okay, so these are projects that were recognized and at some point declassified. But the government's never really said anything about the Mothman, ever. It's not even been like a UFO thing where they're like, you need to confirm or deny that. Like, if they wanted it to be a big deal, they'd make it a big deal. They'd have movies about the Mothman. And they're just, I mean, I guess there have been some, but it's not anything that's ever discussed. Mothman Prophecies, exactly. It's about the only one, and it's based off that book. it's not like, it's also not like one of the things that they reference a lot. Like, I don't know. It's not one of your traditional cryptozoological beings. I guess maybe it is, but your big ones out there are like ghosts and Bigfoot, like swamp things, and like Jersey Devil kind of deals. Mothman is. So what do I think Mothman was? I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could tell you. And so what do I really think it was? Okay, here's what I think it was. I hate saying this. I absolutely fucking hate saying this. But I think that there is a program that has been taking place since at least 1954, an exchange program between aliens and humans took place at an Air Force base in Texas in 1954, President Eisenhower. Okay, so I think that there could be alien beings here. Usually they're in UFOs and things, but the idea that they could be out in the open could take place. So I am more inclined to believe that Mothman is perhaps an extraterrestrial being than he is someone in the government with a jetpack or something like that. So I think he's extraterrestrial. What do you think, Jim? Definitely. All right. So here's an interesting thing. John Keel, who wrote the Mothman prophecies, we've got a version of it on the Art Bell vault. So we're gonna play this and listen to it as you wish. It's called. What'd you say? Well, then isn't not then don't. Let's see. How do I want to say this? Then if we're all aliens, okay? Then do extraterrestrials? Is there anything just known as a terrestrial, or are we all extraterrestrials? Okay, I can get on board with that. Right, JH, you and I were the ones, we were going through that. What was it called? Directed. Pardon me? That's right, directed panspermia. So, James, we asked ChatGPT what the term was. JH was referencing the term panspermia for the idea that life could have been seeded on Earth from like a meteorite or something like that. And I thought it was more probably seeded here from like an extraterrestrial race. So we asked ChatGPT what it's called when humans are seeded here from an extraterrestrial race, and it called it directed panspermia. And that was wild to us. And then or that's direct panspermia, and then indirect panspermia would be if it came from a meteorite or something.
This tax season, LifeLock
I could see that.
LifeLock monitors and alerts you to identity threats that may disappear. And if you're careful with your personal information, you do become a victim of tax-related identity fraud. LifeLock has U.S.-based restoration specialists.
Well, it's definitely very interesting.
Issues. Plus,
And you can interpret the Sumerian text in the Bible what happens like genetic experiments in a certain capacity.
LifeLock can protect your financial information, so all you have to do is
There's definitely an argument to be made on that.
tax refund. Go to LifeLock.com, save up to 25% in your first
I
year.
think
Promo code George. That's promo code George for 25%
I think human
off
consciousness is like
LifeLock.com.
mentally
Identity
in a lot of ways,
protection
like
starts here.
like the bodies we inhabit are like they're dimensional spaces.
That definitely could be it. All right. This is an interview. A great interview with John Keel about covering strange happenings in small towns around the United States, with observations about the phenomenon and Mothman. You guessed at 49 minutes. All right, let's see how this. I want you to pass out during it. That's why we're here. Where's my computer? I love chilling with you guys. All right, this is Mothman Prophecies. The guest is going to come on at around 49 minutes, and we're going to just fast forward to that. Because if not, I love this theme song. The theme song is from the movie something Express. Midnight Express. It's like about it's a movie from like the 80s or 70s about being in a Turkish prison for hashish or something. Exactly.
Johnny Keelan, and he's going to want you.
I can imagine.
Finally made me want to see this. I saw the guy and I thought, this does sound weird. Said that we have great weapons, that we have, in fact, incredible weapons specific to the job we've been doing in Afghanistan. Bombs that go up your nostril and explode. The rifle to you, man, kind of I thoroughly thank you so much. If you go to Fright, I forget the title. In fact, that would be a good idea right now. And there's a photograph that I want you to see. Despite some recent disinformation type articles, the fact of the matter is the Antarctica is melting. And tonight I have visual evidence for you. It's an article on Yahoo. And I think you'll find this absolutely fascinating, frightening. This really is scary. It's very legitimate science. And under the photograph, which, by the way, when you get to the story, it's under What's New about the Antarctic melting or whatever. I forget the title. Go to the article and then click on the photograph itself to see the full-size picture. This is really scary. Under the picture, it says one of the most remote spots on the planet, Signy Island off Antarctica, is providing scientists with a pristine natural laboratory to gauge the environmental consequences of rising global temperatures. Writing in the journal Science, British and Canadian scientists said on Thursday, that's this Thursday, folks, today, a 20-year study revealed dramatic changes in lakes on Signy Island caused by a 1.8 degrees Celsius rise in air temperature. This increase triggered a series of changes in the lakes on the island, 435 miles northwest of the Antarctic Peninsula. Scientists hope polar lakes to be early detectors of change wrought by global warming, and so it is. Where do you see this? In the Antarctic. Water everywhere. Things that should be absolutely solidly frozen. It has become like, how many good pictures of Mothman?
Yeah, if you actually go to the front of my website, www.laurencoleman, L-O-R-E-N, Coleman.com.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. Let's see if it's here.
And actually, I was just in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where this happened about 3 weeks ago, re-interviewing the witnesses again and talking to people.
Doesn't look like it's a valid website.
They actually said this is the best representation of what they actually saw. 7-foot-tall creature, no head, gigantic wings, huge red eyes. In fact, so red and so scary. Sometimes that's all the people saw. John will tell you about that. It's just an amazing story.
Well, then I'm not going to like this. For some reason, Lauren, and I don't know what that is, I've gone all the years of my life only hearing references to the Mothman prophecies and never really knowing a doggone thing about the Mothman.
Well, it is interesting that here we have a case that's waited 35 years to really come out in the open. John did a great job with his 1975 book, and finally Hollywood's discovering it. But, 2002 is definitely going to be the year of the Mothman.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
You think the Mothman is going to be like the new chupacabra?
Well, I think so. I think what's happening is cryptozoologists, paranormalists, ufologists who have really ignored John's work are all of a sudden going to have to sit up and look at what's going on. You had a 13-month period of an incredible vortex of phenomena. UFOs, men in black, poltergeist activity.
Do you think that Mothman is paranormal to the degree that it might be coming through one of these holes?
I definitely think that John's concept of window areas is something we have to not ignore.
Well, that's what he believes. You see, I don't know anything about any of this, so he does believe that there are kind of windows then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he invented the whole concept of window areas. And, I think that's something that we have to look at. That there's almost as if sometimes the window opens very widely and a lot of different phenomena comes through. And sometimes it's very narrow and you just have UFO flaps. But, my whole chapter 9 in my book is called Windows in honor of John's whole concept there.
Are you two friends?
Oh, yeah, we're great friends. I just talked to him today, and, went to his birthday party a few years ago. Yeah, we've been great friends since the 60s.
Well, it's my understanding he's a young 80 years old. Is that right?
No, he's only 72. He's just a very, very young man.
72. Oh, 72. All right. And he began writing about all of this how long ago, Laura?
When he was just in his 20s, he started doing radio shows on UFOs. And he was a screenwriter and a TV writer, and then slowly over the years started writing for some of the men's magazines, which were pretty serious in the old days when the True magazine and different things like that were the only places that you could really talk about 40 and UFO phenomena. And John did quite a bit of that, and then he came into some advances here and there to do some wonderful kind of books like UFOs, Trojan Horse, or...
Well, Lauren, this description really sounds to me like, what a lot of people would call an evil entity.
Yeah, well, I think that John certainly, as the lightning rod for Mothman, has been able to really define Mothman and some of the strange phone calls and entities and all of the things that he'll tell you about tonight. As it's really...
I guess I'm asking your opinion. There are a lot of religious folks out there. And they're going to think this is a demon. It sounds like a classic demon.
It's funny. You can look at it as a demon. I've interviewed witnesses because
you look at Mothman beyond the context of Point Pleasant, people have seen winged creatures all over the world and all over the United States. Some people describe these as angels. So you can look at it in two different perspectives. Some young kids that I've interviewed that have seen these things without any heads with wings have talked about angels. Other people who were chased in the middle of the night by a huge red-eyed creature.
My problem with this is that angels, the way I think of angels, they definitely don't have red eyes. Angels couldn't have red eyes.
Well, I
don't think they could.
No, I understand what you're saying. So generally, most of the people who talk about Mothman give it a very sinister feeling.
Has Mothman ever been known to physically assault humans in any way?
Mothman itself, no. But people have, there's a linkage, of course, between Mothman and the collapse of the Silver Bridge at the end of the 13th month. And that's a whole different story. But physically, Mothman never touched any of these witnesses, never, scraped against them, never did any of that.
Did any of these witnesses ever die of heart attacks?
Not as far as I know.
Of course, then I guess they wouldn't be witnesses. They'd just be dead.
In 1977 in Illinois, of course, you have the classic case of, in Lawndale, Illinois, a young man, Marlon Lowe, who was picked up by one of these things and carried for 10 feet. But in Illinois, of course, they're called thunderbirds. It's just a special name of Mothman that's kept Mothman kind of in a different place.
Well, Mothman almost sounds like a comic book hero.
Well, it was named a copy editor in an Ohio newspaper. Decided that he loved the series on TV called Batman. And he came up with the name Mothman. Witnesses down there called it Big Bird or the Giant Bird.
Yeah, Big Bird, that's good. All right, well, listen, John A. Keel is coming up next. Lauren, thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Boy, am I glad you got through, my friend.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Good night. I hate red eyes. I really hate red eyes. Angels with red eyes? I don't think so.
Motel, bro.
The World Trade Center burned for almost 3 months, a very, very long time, but not the longest burning fire in the U.S. Find out what place has burned a lot longer in a while. So I came to you, sweet lady. Crystal ball on the table, showing up into the past.
I love this song. Jesus is a woman making more out of life. He's the devil.